was so mature as a performer that in the early days, people called Michael a 45-year-old midget. As an adult, Michael's professional energy is almost unparalleled, but off stage, he's changed.
Michael is quiet now. When he was younger, he wasn't that quiet. But I don't know, I think the stage might have done that to him. Because wherever he go, everybody's coming out to see Michael Jackson, you know, want to look at him and see what he looks like. And he said he feels like an animal in a cage.
I do all the time. Do you? Well, I shouldn't say all the time, but I get embarrassed easily. And I don't know, sometimes the time I'm most comfortable on stage than any place in the world. Being around, you know, everyday people and stuff, I feel strange. I do.
Shy?
Yeah.
It's hard to look at these sophisticated men and believe that for some of them, dating and driving privileges were withheld until the late teens. Or to think that Michael still lives with mom and dad. There are some people who believe that having always been on stage, you've never had to deal with the real world.
Yeah, that's true in one way. That's true in one way. But it's hard to in my position. I try to sometimes. And but people won't deal with me in that way because they see me differently. They won't talk to me like they will the next door neighbor.
A steel worker, Joe started moonlighting as his son's manager. It's his full-time job now.
I decided to deal with the boys as much as I possibly can as far as rehearsing them and getting them prepared to be in show business.
Did they resent it?
Yes.
They did?
Yes.
My father started rehearsing every day after school. Other kids would be outside playing, and they would tease us, oh, you're doing this, you're not going to get nowhere, you're not going to... But we just rehearsed every day.
At first, it was weekends and vacations on stage. Within a few years, though, they were on the road more than at home. School was a traveling tutor. They entertained their way around the world 3 times. They gave a command performance for the Queen of England. The history of their success can be seen in the gold and platinum records on the living room wall.
Here it is.
This looks very suspicious.
You know something's up, though.
Such a great director.
He's looking for Mac. Look, he's looking for Mac.
Where's McCall? Where's Mac?
He said, "Where's Mac?"
It's very dangerous to me.
In appreciation for working on the Black or White short film,
Yeah.
we'd like to say thank you, and we love you, and we think
And John?
you've done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
John?
Because
What,
every,
Mac?
What Mac?
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I love it. It could have gone on and on as far as I care.
You better introduce yourself to him.
My name is Patrice. Do you have a pen?
I do. Here you go. Mike. Michael, this is Kurt Nim, one of her doctors. Hi, how are you?
I am fine. You're watching soap operas, huh?
You want some music, huh? Want some music? What was your name? What is it? Levi.
And the other Can you do one of those moves for me? Sure you can.
Oh, here we go. Nice shot. Okay, you ready? I think you're smiling here, too. Here we go. Thank you.
Perfect place to be. I always tell you. Hi. It's so nice of you.
I like it more than you.
This is Tiffany.
Oh, you. You feel better.
Just so you can see Mike.
Watching Bullwinkle.
She just came in and they're, being evaluated, right? That's being evaluated. Where are you from?
I was born in Taiwan. She's born in this country.
Was she? You were born in Hawaii? Or Taiwan?
That's Mac's older brother, Shane. Okay, we're preparing the water balloon fight. What's the name of our group this time, man? What are you doing? Where were we last time? That was okay. Legions of Doom. We had teams. We used the whole ranch. My favorite thing in the world to play, if you call it a sport, it's a sport. It's a water balloon fight. I like the way they splatter when they hit. I've never lost a water balloon fight. I'm the Michael Jordan of water balloon fighting. Legions of Doom. Yay. We won the fight again and again.
But Janice, what's it like on the winning team?
If he's gonna get me. Great. On the back. Did you see that, Lee? Your foot is ran over. They're good kids, though. This is what he did. Look, he had the camera and he went. he went to lift the thing and I grabbed it. Hey, apple head. Say, man, apple head. Oh, it said apple head right on it. Most kids never call me by a name Michael, either Applehead or another name which I don't want to say. It's not a bad word.
Applehead.
I'm skipping to the egg. I got some eggs.
In someone's pocket, there's an egg.
Yeah, because I heard what Lee said. 10.
David. Just thinking about my baby, don't matter if you're black or white. Go on with your bed. It's a turf war. Ha. You see it. I'm not gonna spend my life being a car. Will you excuse me when I saw you get dirty? Yeah, you're thinking about my baby. Don't matter if you're black or white. You're thinking about my baby. Don't matter if you're black or white. I said, thinking of being my brother. It don't matter if you're black or white. Yeah, it's coming, baby.
Meanwhile, CBS obtained a secretly taped phone conversation allegedly between the father of the boy who accused Jackson of sexual abuse and the boy's stepfather. Listen to this.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. He will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen to him. Beyond his worst nightmares. Sell one more record. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want. They will be destroyed forever.
Jackson's private investigator says the tapes prove that Jackson is telling the truth about his accusers just wanting money.
I think everything that happens in Hollywood has something to do with the film industry. It seems to just interlink throughout the whole community.
And the Michael Jackson scandal is no exception. It appears that the father of the alleged victim wanted to get into movies in the world's worst way. What followed then was like a Hollywood script. He landed a deal with Mel Brooks in the movie Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
The father of the alleged victim even received a coveted screen credit for the Robin Hood movie. We are masking his name to protect his identity.
We're men, family men, we're men in tights. Yes!
The father is a Hollywood dentist, seen here for the very first time. How did he get that lucrative movie deal? He pitched his idea to Mel Brooks, the director of the movie, and his patient, his mouth wide open.
Apparently he was working on Mel Brooks when he came up with the Men in Tights idea, or he said his son came up with the Men in Tights idea. This is the same 13-year-old boy. And apparently, maybe Mel was under some kind of ether anesthetic, but he decided it was a great idea and went along with the dentist, and they put the movie together.
Veteran celebrity columnist Janet Charlton says that after the Robin Hood deal, the dentist was bitten by the Hollywood bug and looking for bigger fish. Michael Jackson was allegedly his target.
I would imagine a dentist to the stars would be exposed to a lot of the glamour in Hollywood. He can see his successful customers talking on the phone, making deals, and it looks so easy to someone on the outside, you know? And he figured he wanted to get a little piece of the pie and get, you know, stop drilling teeth and maybe become a producer and really make some big bucks.
The father found out that the most money is made when you're the executive producer. And he wanted the next movie to be the executive producer, so he saw that Michael had a friendship with his son, and not just the son. This has come out at trial that Michael was a friend to that whole family, the mom, the daughter. He didn't take that son anywhere that family was not there. You know, it's just that the boy wanted to, you know, the mom had a daughter, everything she did with the daughter, so it was Michael and the son were like, you know, he was kind of like striking a balance in that family, giving the boy a father figure to relate to. And when he didn't pay the money and he refused to, you know, to be a victim of the extortion attempt, when he didn't pay the money, the father did just what he said he was going to do. He said, I'm going to destroy you. He said, if I don't get what I want, I'm moving according to a plan. Anthony Pellicano got hold of a tape-recorded conversation where he was verbally saying this to another person, I'm going to destroy him. If I don't get what I want, and then the stepfather actually said, well, how's that going to help your son? He said, I don't care about that. You know, it was only about the money.
A secret recording of Evan Chandler.
This attorney I found, I mean, I interviewed several. And I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find. Once I make that phone call, this guy is just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want.
Because he was very instrumental in '93 in digging up all the facts. He even went and talked to the boy, had a meeting with the boy, asked the boy face to face, had Michael ever done anything? And Anthony Pellicano, he was an Italian, they call him kind of like a mobster kind of guy, but you know, they may be of that mentality, but they're very family orientated. Anthony Pellicano would not have ever taken on representing Michael if he had a clue that Michael was possibly guilty of harming a child. their integrity. That's, you know, that's what they're mainly about. So before he even said yes to taking on the case, he went and talked to the boy, and he asked the boy, and he was very gentle with him. You know, he's a very smooth guy. And he said he asked the boy, did Michael do anything inappropriate? Anything? Has he ever touched you in any? And he said the boy denied everything. Said he never did anything inappropriate. And it was at that point that he decided to take on the case. They first came at us for, they wanted $20 million from Michael Jackson.
Members of the NAACP have been jailed and even killed in the noble pursuit of those ideals upon which our country was founded. None of these goals is more meaningful for me at this time in my life than the notion that everyone is presumed to be innocent. Everyone is presumed to be innocent and totally innocent until they are charged with a crime and then convicted by a jury of their peers. I never really took the time to understand the importance of that ideal until now, until I became the victim of false allegations and the willingness of others to believe and exploit the worst before they have had the chance to hear the truth. Because, thank you. Oh, I love you. I love you more. Because not only am I presumed to be innocent, I am innocent. And I know that the truth will be my salvation. I have been strengthened in my fight to prove my innocence by my faith in God and by the knowledge that I am not fighting this battle alone. Together we will see this thing through, and I'm very proud to be here.
Well, because I know that you've wanted to express similar sentiments for a long time, I want to ask a few things about the charges, but first I want to establish for the viewers here, there are no ground rules. You have said to me you are not afraid of any questions, so I wanted that understood by everybody before we proceed. I think I want to begin by making sure that the terms are clear. You have said that you would never harm a child. I want to be specific as I can. Did you ever, as this young boy said you did you ever sexually engage, fondle, have sexual contact with this child or any other child?
Never, ever. I could never harm a child or anyone. It's not in my heart. It's not who I am. And it's not what I'm not even interested in that.
And what do you think should be done to someone who does that?
To someone who does that, what I think it should be done, gee, I think they need help in some kind of way, you know?
How about the police photographs, though? How was there enough information from this boy about those kinds of things?
The police photographs,
photographs
that they took of me.
Yes.
There was nothing that matched me to those charges.
There was nothing. There was nothing that concurred.
That's why I'm sitting here talking to you
nothing.
today. There was not one iota of information that was found that could connect me.
So when we've heard that there was a marking of some kind.
No markings.
No markings.
No.
Why did you
Why am I still here then?
You're not going to ask me about that, are you? Sorry, about the markings.
You can volunteer.
No, I'm just, the point is that when that finally got concluded that there was no matchup, then it was printed this big as opposed to how big it was, what the matchup was supposed to be.
It didn't work. It isn't so. The whole thing is a lie.
Why did you settle the case then? Why did you settle the case? And it looks to everyone as if you paid a huge amount of money.
Most of that's
to get
folklore.
silence.
I talked to my lawyers and I said, can you guarantee me that justice will prevail? And they said, Michael, we cannot guarantee you that a judge or a jury will do anything. And with that, I was like catatonic. I was outraged.
How much money
Totally
was it?
outraged. So what I said, I have got to do something to get out from under this nightmare. All these lies and all these people coming forward to get paid and these tabloid shows, just lies, 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 lies. So what I did, we got together again with my advisors, and they advised me, it was hands down, a unanimous decision, resolve the case. This could be something that could go on for 7 years.
How much money
we said,
was
let's get it behind us.
Can you say how much?
It's not what the tabloids have printed. It's not all this crazy outlandish. No, it's not at all. I mean, the terms of the agreement are very confidential.
He's been barred to discuss it.
The specific
terms, you know, so
but
it's
specific amounts.
The idea is just isn't fair. What they put me through, because there wasn't one piece of information that says I did that. And anyway, they turned my room upside down, went through all my books, all my videotapes, all my private things, and they found nothing that can say Michael Jackson did this. Nothing.
Were you ever accused of having sexually molested Brett Barnes?
Won't answer that.
Do you know a person by the name of Macaulay Culkin?
Yes. No. Get your answer.
So you're going to let him answer questions about Macaulay Culkin?
Let him answer that one.
To your knowledge, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Macaulay?
That's an instruction not to answer on that one.
This is as good a copy of the document as I have available to me at this time. Let me ask you this. Do you recognize the handwriting on these two sheets?
Yes.
Do you know whose handwriting it is?
It's mine.
Do you know what these documents are?
Yeah.
What is this?
Crazy stories that people have created. Things I wanted to set straight in an interview.
Do you know with whom this interview was?
The next, I think it could have been Diane Sawyer, whatever the interview was that I wanted to do. I wanted to set the record straight, that if people hear a lie long enough, people believe it, that people have lied on me. I'm a black American and I'm proud of it, and I'm honored of it. The bleach skin rumor, which is a rumor, I don't bleach my skin. They once said I wanted a white kid to play me as a child, which was a rumor. Inauguration rumor, saying I didn't want to do President Clinton's inauguration. I'm not gay. This says, don't judge a person unless you have spoken to them one-on-one, which is true. Because what you hear is a lie, untrue. I can't make out this part there.
It is illegible in portions, that's true.
And Jesus said to love the children and be like children. Be youthful and be innocent and be pure and honorable. He was talking to his apostles, and they were fighting over who's the greatest among themselves. And he said, whoever humbled yourself like this child is the greatest among me. And he always surrounded himself with children. And that's how I was raised, to believe and to be like that and to imitate that. So I don't know what you're trying to make out of it. I made a list of things. When I get angry enough, I write down what I want to say and what I want to talk about to set the record straight. Because you get to a point where you get tired of people lying. I get tired of situations like this, where people completely lie on me, and I'm sick of it.
The video operator, we're off the record. I have the conclusion, 4:11.
You know how Bashir zoomed in on him holding hands? Do that the same thing. Because that's what a mother does with a son, or a father does with a son. My first impression of Michael wasn't exactly an answered prayer to my children and me.
And all he wanted to do was good, happiness. That's all he cared about. He told me, listen, I need you to get better. You are going to get better. Mm-hmm. He told me, I need you to eat up all the little cancer cells just like Pac-Man. Go around eating like Pac-Man. And I never forgot that.
And me know what rejection is. to be neglected, to be spit on, to be talked about, to be made an outsider, only because of our status in life or what we were going through. And Michael did not have that. He said, come to him, not just Gavin, but Star and Davelin and me.
It's not Jackson who was the predator, it was Jackson who was the prey. And the alleged victim and his mother were the predators. They saw an easy mark and wanted to be around them, and they saw the money.
They had done it before, argued Mesereau. He brought to the stand newspaper editor Connie Keenan, who'd received a phone call from the accuser's mother.
Her son was ill with cancer, and they were losing their house, and they were losing their car because of the medical expenses.
Keenan felt sorry for the sick boy and eventually agreed to run a story. A few weeks later, the mother called again.
She said, you know what, we didn't make enough money from the first story. Will you run another story?
The mother's phone call prompted the reporter to carry out more research on the family. She was stunned and shaken to learn that the family was insured and their medical expenses had been covered all along.
It gives me goosebumps. It does. It does. That a mother would use her son to use her son's illness for their own gain.
The mother had testified that she'd been held hostage at Neverland. Mesereau was able to produce a witness who'd in fact given her a spa treatment at that time.
Did she call for help? No. Did she tell the person at the spa that she was being held against her will? No. What did she do? She had a body wax.
She went on shopping sprees and even had dental surgery, never once mentioning that she was being held captive. The defense knew that its attack on the mother would stick, thanks to the work of Chief Investigator Scott Ross. He'd uncovered a grifter scheme in which the accuser's mother taught her children how to con money from people.
She taught them what to say, and they said it. They had typed out notes that they would come home every day from school, and they would read from them. These kids were taught to disarm people. There was a consistent statement made by almost every witness that had dealings with the family that these kids would come up and greet them with a hug. These kids would write cards, "We love you, you're like a big sister to us, can we come stay at your house?" This was a pattern that they had set.
When the kids procured money, says Ross, the mother would put it in a special bank account.
She was the only one that had access to it. She was the only signer. She was filtering money through it.
Throughout the trial, the defense successfully portrayed the accuser as an astute young liar, scripted by his mother.
After repeated stays at Neverland, even while Michael was out of town, they began to exhibit an attitude of entitlement with Michael's staff and resources. Witnesses at the trial reported that they thought the family started conspiring to take advantage of Michael and his generosity. At first glance, the Arvizos seemed like well-intentioned, kind, fun people who had grown up in difficult circumstances in East LA and that they deserved the help they got. However, it came out at trial that the Arvizos were not as innocent as they first appeared. Trial testimony revealed that a couple years earlier, before his cancer diagnosis, Gavin was arrested for shoplifting at a JCPenney on an outing with his family. When a security guard confronted him in the parking lot, they got into an altercation, and Janet Arvizo was arrested. Some weeks later, Janet Arvizo sued JCPenney, claiming she was sexually molested by the JCPenney security guards. She said they twisted her nipple up to 25 times and beat her, and she offered these photos as proof. JCPenney settled out of court for $152,000.
Well, there's no question that two young boys lied under oath to support their mother's claim that she'd been sexually abused by JCPenney guards. But there are many other things that we brought forward. She was arrested, brought to the police station. We obtained the booking information where she said she didn't have any need for medical attention, didn't have any injuries. We also obtained the booking photos where you didn't see a bruise on her body or a hair out of place. Subsequently, her lawyer filed a lawsuit against JCPenney and with photographs showing bruises all over her body.
Later, Janet and her kids admitted under oath that her ex-husband David regularly beat her and their children and that they had lied earlier in the JCPenney deposition. Apparently, the Arvizos were practiced in using lawyers and their children's lies for financial gain before they met Michael Jackson.
For 2 days, jurors have heard the details of how Michael Jackson allegedly molested a boy at his Neverland ranch. And now they're getting to hear the boy's story firsthand. Prosecutors have called Jackson's accuser to the stand. He follows the testimony of his 14-year-old brother. Under tough questioning from Jackson's defense attorney, the brother's memories seem to fall apart little by little.
The defense is effectively dismantling this witness on the stand. We're hearing the story change. It's not simply a matter of memory being different. It's the story's different.
The boy told jurors he witnessed Jackson molest his brother 2 times, but today, out of the blue, he said it was 3 times. He was referring back to what he said in an interview with investigators. The boy said he was nervous then, and that's why he made the mistake. The teen also testified he witnessed the molestations from the stairs leading to Jackson's bedroom. But earlier, he reportedly told investigators that on the second occasion, he was pretending to be asleep on the couch. At that point, the prosecutor stood up and objected, telling the judge he could explain. The prosecutor later suggested to jurors that the boy was on the couch and did witness an incident that Jackson isn't formally charged with. The boy also contradicted testimony from his sister about where in Neverland Jackson allegedly gave them alcohol and what type it was. Now it's up to the accuser himself to bring credibility to his family and make the jury believe his story. Manuel Gallegos, CBS News, Santa Maria.
And so, through him, it sparked Star and Neverland calling him Daddy Michael. Very innocent and beautiful relationship, which everyone has spun it out of control. It's a wish come true. For example, to see my children interact with an ideal role, a father role model. He plays with them, laughs with them. He lets them win.
He wrestles with them.
He makes jokes with them.
Go on the rides together.
He shows them.
Watch movies together.
He shows them the basic foundation of what life is, and that's a loving family. The stronger your foundation, the higher your building is.
My first impression was that he's a very loving, caring, humble man. He took us under his wing when nobody else would. He didn't turn us away like all the people were doing. And he gave my brother the extra little spark he needed in his mind, because my brother was to the point where he couldn't even move. He couldn't even talk. And he gave my little brother so much.
In coming out and giving a statement, he's scheduled to make...
Here we go, Jane. This is the audio feed from the court.
Superior Court of the State of California for the County of Santa Barbara, Santa Maria Division. The people of the State of California, plaintiff versus Michael Joe Jackson, defendant. Case number 1133603. Count 1, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of conspiracy as charged in Count 1 of the indictment, dated June 13th, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 2, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in Count 2 of the indictment, dated June 13th, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 3, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in Count 3 of the indictment, dated June 13th, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 4, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of lewd act upon a minor child as charged in Count 4 of the indictment, dated June 10th, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 5, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in count 5 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 6, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of attempting to commit a lewd act upon a minor child as charged in count 6 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80.
There are only
Count
the
7,
counts
verdict.
now remaining
We, the jury, in the above
concerning the
entitled
alcohol.
case, find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 7 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 7, verdict, lesser offense. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of providing alcoholic beverages to persons under the age of 21, a lesser included offense of that charge in count 7 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 8, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 8 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 8, verdict, lesser offense. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of providing alcoholic beverages to persons under the age of 21, a lesser included offense that charged in count 8 of the indictment, dated June 13, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 9, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 9 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 9, verdict, lesser offense. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of providing alcoholic beverages to persons under the age of 21, a lesser included offense of that charge in count 9 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 10, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of administering an intoxicating agent to assist in the commission of a felony as charged in count 10 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80. Count 10, verdict, lesser offense. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant not guilty of providing alcoholic beverages to persons under the age of 21, a lesser included offense of that charge in count 10 of the indictment, dated June 10, 2005, foreperson number 80.
Was not guilty. Out here, outside the courtroom, the cries and cheers became louder and louder with each finding of the jury that Michael Jackson was not guilty. Michael Jackson himself, the first time we've seen him since being acquitted on these charges, just walking through the court, not an emotion on his face. He still looks rather blank, composed. One can only imagine what roller coaster of emotions he may well have been going through in the moments before those verdicts came through. Ian Doverson was in the court. This is his account. We're on pictures of Michael Jackson waving to the crowd, walking out, and the crescendo grows from his fans. Well, there is to be no press conference. Michael Jackson and his family members with a thank you, a touch on the shoulder, a shake of the hand, says one final grateful thanks to his defence team, and straight into the SUV. These black vehicles that have borne him to and from this court these last 4 months. A pat on the back from Thomas Mesereau. And the Jackson car is leaving court. He's a free man. The crowd surge on the street to watch the car leave.
Justice was done. The man's innocent. He always
Well, in the end, he was only here for 45 minutes, but a momentous 45 minutes in Michael Jackson's life.
Hello.
Some of the fans here can't believe this. They've waited, many of them, through day in, day out, throughout the testimony, throughout this long 7 days of the jury deliberating, and they cannot quite believe that now it's all over.
House Santa Maria, 10.
Here's Ian
9,
Doveston. He's going to tell us now what it was like inside the courtroom
4,
as those decisions
3,
came through. Let's join Ian Doveston.
1. I've just heard Judge Rodney Melville say to a court, his last words to a court as he left from the door that's been to his left all of the time. He said to Mr. Jackson, Michael Jackson, he said, "Mr. Jackson, your bail is exonerated and you are released." Words that will be played, I'm sure, on countless occasions from now forevermore, I would imagine. It was an incredibly dramatic time in court. Let me tell you how it happened. Before the verdict, we were treated to almost, perhaps in the region of 10 minutes, of the judge going through brown envelopes, tearing them open and seeing what the verdicts were inside. So at that stage, the secret was shared by the 12 members of the jury, 8 women and 4 men who've made this decision, and the judge in court. He spent an awful lot of time talking to the jury after those verdicts had been released, and that was his one statement at the end. He gave this statement, "Mr. Jackson, your bail is exonerated and you are released." That is the one thing that he said to Michael Jackson right at the end of this. And let me tell you, while these verdicts were...
But I understand in 2005 you were with him and actually took him to a hospital at one point, correct?
Yes, that's right. That was the last week of the trial. And when I got a call from Joe and a message from his mother that I needed to come out and just take a look at him because they was worried about his demeanor. When I get there, I go to the trial. From there, we go back to Neverland. And he asked me to come upstairs, and he grabbed me and started crying and said, "Please don't leave me. They're trying to kill me." And I said, "When's the last time you ate?" He said, "No, they'll poison me." I said, "Well, when's the last time you drank water?" And so one thing led to another. So I have a friend of mine that has this huge machine in L.A., Global Cardia Care. I said, "If you can bring this machine down," Michael's agreed to get on it. And they clamp you and they squeeze you and it'll print out everything in your body. And the only thing that it printed out was he was extremely dehydrated. Nothing wrong with his heart, nothing wrong with his lungs. And so the next day after we left court, I said, "I need to take you to a hospital." He said, "No, they'll kill me." And I said, "Well, let's do this. Let's let nobody know where we're going. Let me drive you up to San Francisco to a hospital that don't even know we coming." He agreed to that. And then I said, "Look, 20 miles away from here, let's go to one of these hospitals." And we went to a hospital, and they examined him, and at 5:30, or a little bit before 6, they started intravenously putting liquid in him. At 6 o'clock the next morning, they were still putting water in him. And the doctor said to me, had he waited 12 more hours, he would have been dead.
World Music Awards, sponsored by Top Shot.
Introducing the Diamond Award to the one and only King of Pop himself, Michael Jackson. Is the Queen of Pop herself. One more time, Miss Beyonce Knowles.
Hello. Tonight we are celebrating 25 years of Thriller. Give it up, y'all. Thriller is the biggest selling album of all times. Over 104 million records worldwide sold. Michael Jackson has sold over 750 million records during his lifetime. He's also given over $300 million to charity in his lifetime. This is exactly why we call Michael Jackson the King of Pop. If it wasn't for Michael Jackson, I would never have ever performed. He's made such an impact on my life and every performer's life. Michael Jackson, I love you. We all love you. I want you to give it up for the King of Pop, Michael, 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 Michael Jackson. Congratulations on winning the World Music Award, Diamond Award.
To the World Music Awards, and all my fans around the world, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly humbled by this award. But I'd like to say, when Quincy Jones and Bruce Swedien and Rod Temperton and myself created the Thriller album, it was my dream that Thriller would become the biggest selling album ever. And I love you. And God has answered my prayers. 25 years later, Thriller has become the biggest selling album of all time, with 104 million sold. I thank God and you for the success. And there have been so many who have loved me and stood by me throughout the 42 years that I have been in the entertainment business.
demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Some things in life they just don't want to see, but it's hard to make the world live it. Can't walk in love, they don't. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. We're giving fire. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Can't do it all. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Like a bunch of pity. All I want to say is that. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us.
Hold for applause, slow umbrella fade out.
We're getting some breaking news coming into the situation right now from about Michael Jackson, the king of pop, who's 50 years old. Let's go to Deborah Farrick. She's working the story for us. What are we picking up, Deb?
Well, here's what we can tell you. This is what's being reported by KTLA. Apparently, Michael Jackson suffered cardiac arrest this afternoon. He was rushed to UCLA Medical Center.
At 12:21 this afternoon, the Los Angeles 911 operators took a call in regards to a need for a medical emergency at the 100 block of Candlewood Drive, which is in West Los Angeles. When the paramedics got on scene, they treated the patient and then immediately transported the patient to UCLA.
We just talked to Brian Oxman. He is the family attorney for the Jackson, and he says that according to Randy Jackson, Michael Jackson's brother, Michael Jackson collapsed in his home in West Los Angeles this morning, and they called paramedics. He says that the family is either at UCLA Medical Center or en route to UCLA Medical Center.
CNN sources are now saying, multiple sources, that Michael Jackson is in a coma at UCLA Medical Center, suffered from cardiac arrest, and is now in a coma.
If you look at the aerials that you're showing on air and you see the number of people that have already gathered outside the hospital, if that isn't testament to the star power of Michael Jackson, I don't know what is.
And we're just getting this in right now, and it's very, very sad news, Jim Moret, and to all of our viewers. Both the Los Angeles Times and CBS News are both now reporting that Michael Jackson has died. Now, CNN has not confirmed that, but the LA Times and CBS News are reporting that Michael Jackson, 50 years old, the king of pop, has died. A very, very sad moment.
What was Michael Jackson doing in Los Angeles before he was taken to the hospital? What new information do you have for us?
Well, we do know that he's been in Los Angeles preparing to undertake this major concert event that he was scheduled to perform in London this coming summer.
I have to stop you for a second, AJ. CNN can now confirm from the LA coroner that Michael Jackson is dead.
Michael, when you left us, a part of me went with you. And a part of you will live forever within me, but also a part of you will live forever within all of us. Michael, I would treasure the good times, the fun we had, singing, dancing, laughing. I can remember when we used to come home from school and we would grab a quick bite to eat, and we'd try to watch the Three Stooges, as much of it as possible before Mother would come in and say it's time to go to the recording studio. I also, Michael, remember a time when I went into the record store, and there was this man purchasing a lot of CDs, and he would go and grab another batch of CDs. He was an older gentleman. He had short afro, butt crooked teeth, and his clothes were rumpled. I walked up behind him and said, "Michael, what are you doing in this store?" He turned to me and said, "Marlon, how did you know it was me?" I told him, "You're my brother. I can spot you anywhere, regardless of your makeup. I know your walk, I know your body language,
And those shoes did not help. Michael wore the same shoes wherever we went. But I guess that was his way of trying to experience what we take for granted. We would never understand what he endured. Not being able to walk across the street without a crowd gathering around him. Being judged, ridiculed. How much pain can one take? Maybe now, Michael, they will leave you alone. I thank you. Janet, want to say something?
I just wanted to say, speak up, sweetheart, speak up. Get close. Ever since I was born, Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine. And I just wanted to say I love him so much.
We want to thank you all for loving my brother and supporting our family. Thank you and good night.
And you started as a youngster dancing with Michael Jackson?
Yeah, started dancing when I was like 2, and then won a dance competition when I was 5 that Michael was holding sort of all over the world doing his tour. And it was like a dance-alike contest like him.
Right.
I won that, and then the prize
and then
was
you
to
moved
meet him.
into the ranch.
Easy, Dean. Easy. No, I didn't move into
he's
the
not
ranch.
moving to the ranch.
No.
Are you still friendly with Michael?
Yeah, we still talk every couple months, catch up.
You do, really?
Yeah.
Well, what's he like?
What's he like? He's a good guy.
Is he a good guy?
Yeah.
Show me where he touched you. You never, nothing ever,
he touched you, bro.
nothing ever like that? No nonsense, no shenanigans? But he's a weird guy, you have to admit, right?
You know what, at the end of the day, it's like, everybody's got something weird about him. Everybody's got something strange about him.
Yeah, but some people more than others.
Yeah, but true. At the end of the day, all I'm here, it's like, you know, you may not like, or you may have weird thoughts about him.
At the end of the day.
Why don't you let me talk for a minute? No. But it's like, you know, as long as people don't forget, you know, how talented he is and what he's done for the music industry. Think whatever you want about him, but you can't deny his talent. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, but you can notice the 35 plastic surgeries and the weird assortment of boys in his bed. Right?
There's that, I guess.
And so you got the...
He's a dancer who got his start performing as a child alongside Michael Jackson. And when the King of Pop was accused of abusing children, Wade Robson defended his friend, even testifying in court. But now, in this exclusive interview with our Jim Murray, he is changing his story.
Every time we were together, it happened. There was no night that went by that I was with him that he didn't sexually abuse me.
Robson says he never told anyone what was really taking place during those frequent slumber parties with Jackson at Neverland Ranch.
It started with him fondling, then it would, then it moved into kissing him, kissing me on the lips like a French kiss sort of thing, and then it moved to oral sex.
He says Jackson warned they would both go to jail if anyone found out.
It's not possible for me to tell the truth about what happened, what Michael Jackson did to me, until I did, because when I was younger, I was terrified by the idea of my life falling apart, him going to jail.
In 1997, I interviewed Robson for CNN along with his mother when Jackson was first accused of child molestation.
It's just a slumber party. We just have a lot of fun.
I remember specifically the days leading up to that interview. The conversation from Michael was, they're saying that we did this, that, and the other, these disgusting sexual things, and we never did any of that, right? And I would just play along and say, yeah, it's crazy. We never did anything like that.
In 2005, Robson appeared as a star defense witness at Jackson's trial when the singer was found not guilty of molestation charges. Robson testified under oath that Jackson never abused him. He said the same thing when he appeared on Jimmy Kimmel's show in 2003.
Show me where he touched you. No nonsense, no shenanigans.
All right, welcome to Truth Be Told. I'm Tony Sweet.
And I am Trisha Carr.
We are here because this is kind of a breaking news because in about a month, less than a month actually, we have a documentary coming. We don't, but there's a documentary coming out called Leaving Neverland. And this is very controversial, especially to the Michael Jackson family and then the friends and family that has worked with him throughout his career. So we have some very special guests on today. We are going to introduce our first guest. She's in studio. Her name is Geraldine Hughes. She was part of the she was an executive secretary for the attorneys for the, I think the first boy in 1993. She was, got to see the insight of all what's going on around the first accusation against Michael Jackson, the molestation accusation. Thank you for being here and being part of the panel today, because there's a documentary that you got to see, and I want to start with you because you actually got to see the documentary. Can you explain a little bit more about the documentary and what's coming out and why it's so controversial, especially to the Jackson family?
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I did get a chance to see the documentary. I went to Sundance and viewed it, and it was kind of heartbreaking because Wade Robeson and Jimmy Safechuck, they were one of Michael's greatest defenders. Wade actually testified on the 2005 trial. He was under oath, and he was very, very... he was adamant that Michael had done nothing to him. One of the statements that he made, just to make sure that they understood, they even re-asked him. They said, has Michael Jackson ever even touched you inappropriately? And his response was, if he had, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So he was one of Mesereau's #1 defense witnesses and professor. Plus, he testified under the grand jury in '93. So he was Michael's biggest supporter. That Michael had never touched him, had never done anything. So this documentary, which says everything, he literally says in the documentary that every time he was in Michael's presence, he was violated by Michael. And it's like, come on, this just isn't the same guy that just professed how wonderful of a human being he was. And it's just so contradictory to his position towards Michael.
Why on earth would that change have occurred? You just think it's money? I mean, it's crazy, though.
We know it's money because they were part of the Q&A at the end. And at the end, he stood there looking, he just looked so distraught. He looked like he had just gotten molested that day. He was trying to really look sad and look, make everyone feel sorry. And he sat there on the stage and he said, this has nothing to do with money. But he failed to mention that he tried to sue the estate for $1.5 billion. He had a book deal. He was trying to get a book deal, and he was trying to get a position with Michael One. He went to the estate to get the head position for that Michael One Circle A Vegas performance. They found out that he falsified some of his information, and he didn't get the position. And he was totally distraught behind that. And they said that that's pretty much when his words changed, and all of a sudden now it's, he's been molested. So there's a lot of things that happened prior where he was trying to go after money. He couldn't. And everyone kind of looks at this as a last ditch effort. But it's a
money grab.
Yeah.
Michael, it was, he had all kinds of issues, and, there was a lot of strangeness. And the bottom line, though, he was a very sweet guy. He was a lovely guy who had just unbelievable, death by celebrity, I think is a saying. But to have that kind of talent, the guy was incredible, it's so silly I'm getting upset, but he was an extraordinary, forgive me. I apologize. It's not like me. He was very, very clearly something about Michael touched people. And regardless of all the jokes and all the eccentricities and odd behaviors and wackiness, the truth is, it's amazing. I'm very privileged. I'm very lucky to have collaborated with an artist like that, someone so amazing. And it's not fair, He's only 50. It's not fair. I'm very upset. I feel stupid. I'm sorry. Mike was nuts, but he was terribly sweet. I mean, he was a genuinely caring person. And he's someone who was denied a childhood, who tried to, you've heard all the Peter Pan analogies, and you grow up like that in front of the camera. It's weird. People ask me, what's it like working with Michael Jackson? And when we made Thriller, Michael was 20, and it was like working with an incredibly gifted 10-year-old. And in no way do I mean that as a criticism. It was, he had real... he was emotionally stunted. I don't know. He's certainly someone who wore his heart on his sleeve. Let's put it that way. And he always made me laugh. I always made him laugh, and I was always able to say, Mike, what the hell are you doing? That's too weird for me, And he would laugh. He'd dismiss it. Oh, John, he'd say. After Thriller, we went to Disney World. And I have this photograph in my library I really treasure, which is a really silly photo of it's Michael Jackson, Mickey Mouse, and me. The guy took like 2 pictures when I heard this deafening noise. And I looked and I saw the security guy, this big guy, freaking out, talking into his microphone. And I thought, what is it? And I turned around. And I don't know how to explain it. It's the only time in my lifetime I was truly terrified. I thought, we're dead. And it was a sea of people. So, they completely surrounded this island of grass. They were held back by this little chain. And when I say a sea of people, people as far as you could see in every direction, thousands of people. I don't know how many people, but thousands of people, all of whom were hysterical. The kind of hysterical like Beatle, Elvis, Sinatra hysterical. They were Michael Jackson hysterical. And I looked and I thought, oh my God. And it got louder, the screaming. You had to shout to hear the person next to you because of the screaming. And they were, like there. And, at Disney World and Disneyland, the characters in those costumes are never allowed to speak. And, Mickey looks at me and goes, I realized, if Mickey's scared. And I don't know how long it was, but from nowhere, this Cadillac limousine, I'll never forget it. I don't know where it came from, just Disney magic, this Cadillac limousine. And the security people grabbed Mickey, Michael, and me, all 3 of us, threw us into this car with Mickey's giant head. We're like, so there's Mickey, Michael, and me thrown into this car, and they slammed the doors. And the chains broke, and it was like the ocean. It was like surf. This wall of people came, like, the Sorcerer's Apprentice, like, around the car. And Mickey and I are just plotzing. The driver was going, I don't know what to do. I said, don't drive. You'll kill somebody. And Michael was like, hi, hello. I'm totally not fazed. I think Michael would have loved what people said. People spoke very eloquently, sometimes over the top, but, Michael was over the top, so it was very moving. It was great. I'm very impressed with the whole thing. I'm glad I went.